If you find in the first year of your baby's life that you're really wanting to go back to work, to get into career mode, I want to assure you that you are not a monster, that you are probably just as maternal as all the women that just want to stay home all the time. But it can be a tricky feeling to have, feeling like I love my baby, but I really want to get back to work, because it goes against what we commonly hear. You know, in the United States, we have a huge problem with women not being given enough maternity leave. You know, a lot of jobs forcing women to go back way, way too early. So really the common thread in that cultural discussion is women should be able to stay home longer with their babies. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. If a woman wants to stay home longer, she should be able to do that. But that makes women that are like, oh, actually, I really want to get back and I don't mind having the short leave. It can make them feel really guilty. So that's what this video is about, helping you to dissolve that guilt around your desire to go back to work. So I understand this desire because when I was pregnant with Hudson, my son, I had a business in Los Angeles, and I was living in a place north of Los Angeles, and it just was not going to be feasible to continue driving into LA, yada yada. Anyways, that business had to end, and so I suddenly found myself with a newborn at home. And while of course I loved him and I did enjoy, you know, that newborn phase, I had been someone that had always really enjoyed the challenge of work, especially when I could be in a more like creative job. And so in early motherhood, not working at all, I felt kind of rudderless. And I was experiencing, you know, some postpartum blues. And so when Hudson was about 3 months old, I like suddenly had this idea for a book. And like almost immediately, I was infused with so much energy and excitement. And I think we were like on our way home from Target or something. And I parked in our driveway, was nursing Hudson, and made notes for like an hour in my phone about this book. And it totally revitalized me having this like new project. And I think it made me a better mother in a lot of ways because I was more engaged in life as a whole. So anyways, that's to say, I get it. I get that desire to have more going on during your day than just the mothering tasks. And of course, if you're like, I am at my limit with mothering tasks, I get it. I mean, mothering absolutely is a full-time job. I'm just noting that if you're needing to re-engage with your career early on, that's okay too. Okay, so what to do? So if you're really feeling like I want to go back to work, what do you do? So first and foremost, I would first check in and make sure that there's not like an underlying issue behind your desire. Because like I had a friend, for example, and she like really, really wanted to go back to work. And she was a little bit confused by this desire because while she didn't like dislike her job, she had never been really excited about it. So she saw a counselor for a while. I worked with her a bit, and she finally figured out that a lot of aspects of motherhood gave her a lot of anxiety. And so she felt like going back to work would pull her away from that anxiety. And so what she figured out is, okay, my desire to go back to work is kind of like my desire to put a Band-Aid on this anxiety. Instead of dealing with that and like how I'm feeling about motherhood, I'm just trying to escape it. So ideally, we don't want to do that. You know, if going back to work is just a Band-Aid for something, you want to actually really fix the problem, whether it be anxiety, postpartum depression. You know, if you feel like, okay, if I'm just not with my baby as much, maybe I won't feel as depressed. You know, we want to tackle that root issue before, you know, re-engaging in work, if possible. I know plenty of moms that face anxiety, postpartum depression, are forced to go back to work, which isn't right either. Okay, keep remembering that you have every right to love your career. If you share this and people are like, you want to go back to work now, but what about your baby? And if they're dropping judgments on you, just let it go as much as possible. Remember, you are a whole unique human, and it is okay if you are not fully fulfilled by motherhood. Each woman is unique. Some are like, I could be a full-time stay-at-home mom all the time. I love this. That's great. There are some moms that are like, I want to get back to work, but I'm okay. I have a little bit more time. And there's moms that want to get back to work immediately. None of those are wrong. Everybody is walking their own path with motherhood and life in general. Okay, so next, you're gonna need to advocate for your needs more than likely. So if you express, if you're parenting with a partner and you express that you want to go back to work, they will either be like, great, how can I help you? Or they might be like, are you sure? They might kind of push back, and you in that situation will probably have to stand up and advocate for yourself. It's like, yes, I would like to go to work too. And if you're in the situation where childcare is not an option, and for a lot of us it isn't, paid childcare is not an option, you might need to get creative with your partner and say like, all right, maybe you work on site part-time and at home part-time with the baby, and then I do the same thing, but a flipped schedule. So there's always a parent home with the baby. Maybe you could figure out ways to do trade with friends and family members who could come watch the baby. There are a lot of different options if you kind of get creative. But again, if your partner's like, I think you should just stay home with baby all the time, I encourage you to not just accept that, to recognize that you have just as much of a right as they do to engage with a career, with a job. So stand up for yourself during that process. And again, remember that there is absolutely nothing wrong with you if you are eager and excited to get back to work. And again, it does not mean that you're not maternal. It does not mean that you love your baby any less. If you have any questions about this or anything else, let me know in the comments below.